to the Nightlife Podcast. Everyone dreams. Sometimes it's just the pizza or our brains processing events from the day. But more often than we realize, our dreams contain divine revelation, infusing our lives with passion, purpose, and direction. Once you realize the gift that has been yours all along, you'll never go back to spending the nightlife just sleeping. I'm happy to announce a new addition to the podcast room, a space heater. I fished this black beauty out of our garage this week, and the radiating warmth makes me feel a special connection. Like I could tell this space heater anything, and it would understand me in ways that others don't. This is what happens when you spend too much time alone in a windowless room in your basement, in your PJs. Thanks again for all your dream donations. I really enjoy reading them and have several upcoming episodes in queue that I would love more examples for, so please keep them coming. You can submit them using the contact button on my website, www.thenightlife-podcast.com. Speaking of spending too much time alone in my basement, this episode is going to be about people and relationship dreams. Have you ever seen those lists of the top things people on their deathbed say they regret? I love those lists because we all know hindsight is 20/20, and I'd rather learn from others than wait until I get there myself. Not surprisingly, wishing they had invested more in relationships is always at the top. When asked what is the most important commandment, Jesus answered to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. The Bible has a lot to say about love and relationships, most of it revealing we all have areas to grow in. On the vertical level, we were designed for a deep, abiding relationship with God through Jesus. Some people come to this revelation at a very young age, some later, and sadly, some never, by their own choice. God himself is love, and to resist him is to resist the love we were all created for. On the horizontal level, we were designed to flourish in healthy relationships with others. We all experience ways that these connections come naturally, and also many areas where we find ourselves hurt, confused, disconnected, and disappointed. Pain is an unavoidable part of the human experience. I've come to realize we all develop tender spots where we've been hurt that make us react strongly against anything that seems threatening, whether it actually is or not. We can all acknowledge how amazingly agile we are at maneuvering around the deeper issues that need attention in our lives. One tactic is to stay really busy and distracted. I think we've nailed that one. In sleep, however, we are fully present, quiet, and receptive. In the nightlife, the deepest thoughts and desires of our hearts have space to breathe. God desires to meet us here in the secret place that is between us and him and no one else. Have you ever heard these famous words of Jesus? Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. What an offer! He who created us and knows us completely invites us to come and receive all we need from his abundance. Sometimes we ascend the heights in our dreams, finding ourselves basking in perfect love, perfect peace, having everything we need and feeling like we could just camp there forever. And then we wake up to our real life that can feel like a splash of cold water in the face, sometimes within moments of waking. The longer I live, the more I realize how complex life and people are, myself included. No matter how long I've been in relationship with someone, I'm always learning new things about what makes that person tick and where our sweet and sour spots are in relating to each other. We've all experienced harsh reactions from others that just don't make sense from our point of view. Most likely we've pushed an unseen button or stepped on a landmine without even knowing it. Even the most emotionally intelligent among us can't fully understand other people because we all have a private world inside of us that is largely hidden from others. While we will never hold every key to make every relationship smooth and problem-free, I've had so many experiences where I received helpful insight in my dreams concerning people and relationships. Just like a garden, relationships need different things in different seasons. Frequently, weeds need to be pulled, soil and plants need to be nourished. There is hard work during harvest time, and also dormant periods for rest and recovery. Sometimes we notice relationships growing cold, like this room in my basement, and we could use some help digging out the space heater to warm things up again. There are some relationships that aren't what we think they are. Have you ever had a shocking dream of someone you know in a totally different light? This may sound extreme, but I've come to trust how I see people in dreams more than how I think I know them based on my five senses. I once had a dream of a friend dressed all in white, more vibrant and joyful than I've ever seen her, in a bright white room, and wow, did that shift the way I saw her from heaven's perspective. Conversely, I once had a dream of a church we had gone to with a pentagram and satanic relics all over the stage, with the pastor speaking in a creepy voice that was someone else's. Needless to say, that had a serious impact on my view of what was going on there. Dreams can call us into new relationships, call us into closer relationship with people we already know, and reveal strategic partnerships. They can also affirm or warn us of people's character or intentions, and sometimes lead us to transition or end a relationship. I had this happen years ago concerning a relational challenge with a friend. In my first dream, I was at the store Anthropology, looking to buy this friend some jeans. The next day I went back and they had changed out the clothes for the next season. All the jeans were gone and the shorts were out. The overnight change of clothing revealed a quick change of season in this friendship. The name of the store Anthropology pointed to human nature having caused the shift. I knew from this dream to expect a quick change in the relationship, and it gave me peace to accept that outcome rather than exerting effort to repair. In my second dream, this friend and I were in my bedroom, and she was sitting on my unmade bed, opening up honestly about her feelings. In the dream, I felt proud of her because I saw she had laid down her desire to defend herself and instead chose to trust me with what was truly in her heart. The fact that we were in my bedroom indicates a connection that is intimate and personal, with the unmade bed representing authenticity offered to a real friend, not a made-up version put on for company. Me feeling proud of her gave me closure that she had come to a healthy place and there were no hard feelings between us, even though the friendship itself would not be what it was moving forward. The resulting feelings were love, peace, and acceptance. In a different situation, I was warned of someone's anger toward me concerning a second-hand conflict that affected each of us through the people involved. I had no reason to think this person would be offended with me, had I not had two warning dreams. In one dream, this person was irrationally angry with me, and in the second dream, they were intentionally talking over me and mocking what I was saying in a social setting. I was so thankful to know ahead of time rather than be blindsided or confused by this person's malice. I easily adjusted proximity to this person and probably avoided unnecessary drama in the process. The fact that I had two dreams about each of these people gave me sufficient confirmation and clarity to act upon. Our energy supply is limited, and relational challenges can be exhausting. Most of us love people and want every relationship to be as close as it possibly can be, but not at the expense of being drained of time and energy that belongs to the most important people in our lives. We are called to be the guardians of our own hearts in order to give the fullest measure of ourselves to what matters most. I am so thankful for guidance in countless dreams, giving me insight and wisdom, showing me where to invest my time and energy and where not to. Interpreting people in dreams can be a challenge. Sometimes people represent themselves in dreams, such as the examples above. Other times the person represents you or is a symbol for something or someone else. Look for clues like the person's position or what they represent to you, their initials, the meaning of their name, or anything else that comes to mind. This can be fun. One dreamer recently dreamed of renting a room in a house owned by someone she knows named Amy. In the dream, she was moving from a small bed to a full bed with 5 richly colored blankets. The name Amy means one who is dearly loved, and the full bed in this house means that this person is coming into resting in the fullness of knowing she is dearly loved. The 5 layers of blankets represent a covering of grace, and the rich colors symbolize this person's royal identity as a daughter of the king. In this same dream, there were a few other people and activities going on that could have distracted from the central message. Sometimes we have to pull one fish out of the water at a time when there are multiple things going on at once in a dream, or multiple dreams in the same night. Usually they're connected in some way, but not always. So we have to acquire the skill of zooming in and out and looking at each part from different angles. Most dreams should be approached metaphorically. They often play out like a story, and when there are several characters, it's helpful in our interpretation to pinpoint the subject of each part of the dream, who it's about. In addition to identifying the protagonist, look for other possible character types such as the antagonist, hero, villain, sidekick, mentor, foil character, and what part they play in relation to the subject of the dream. I'm sometimes giddy like a child at Christmas unwrapping dreams, mine or someone else's. I can feel impatient when the meaning isn't clear, and I'm also a left-brain thinker by nature, so the swirly process can sometimes feel frustrating. When I'm processing dreams, I'm trying to bring in some amount of structure from which I'm able to extricate possible meanings to then engage with and pray into. Remember to approach each dream with honesty and curiosity as we're asking the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. Also, what did we think, feel, or know in the dream? What were the prominent themes? And then, what are the possible messages, and how can I apply them to my life? Brenda had a significant dream of being stressed because she was late for a haircut. She was in a bathroom trying to quickly change out of sweaty workout clothes, but they were sticking to her body, and it was taking all her strength to get them off. She also had on several layers of tight white gloves that were also incredibly hard to peel off. Once the clothes and gloves were off, she felt exasperated and determined to throw them away and never put them back on again. She knew being late to a haircut illustrated overdue change and personal care, and being in the bathroom highlighted a need for cleansing and taking care of her own heart. The sweaty workout clothes represented the amount of work she was constantly exerting on behalf of others, and she realized there was one layer of gloves for each person in her life she felt an unhealthy burden of responsibility for. The color white symbolizes purity or good intentions, but the tightness of the gloves indicates unhealthy pressure, almost to the point of cutting off her circulation, equating to the essential nourishment she herself needs. The determination to never put them back on means that once she stops engaging in codependent behaviors, she must be resolved to not pick them back up again. The strong feelings in the dream left an impression on Brenda. The very next day, a situation arose that brought the meaning of this dream into clear view, revealing dysfunction she had been engaged in for years without fully realizing it. The revelation in this dream shocked her into a determination to break unhealthy patterns and rebuild new ways of relating to others. Do you see how this dream brought simple and profound clarity to a complex issue that would have been very hard to grasp even through years of counseling? Here's an example of a dream that brought me into closer relationship with someone I knew for a season. We were once part of an organization where the leader was coming under a lot of criticism from a small group of people who were banding together against her. I couldn't get on board with the issues they were raising and didn't know the leader that well, so I determined to just stay neutral. Then I had a shocking dream that I married the leader, a woman, and felt confused at first, until I realized I was being called to fully commit myself to her in this situation. Then I had a second dream that my husband and I both married her, and I knew beyond any shadow of doubt that I was being called to stand up for her, as a wife would stand by her husband. The metaphor helped me see what I was being called to so clearly. I know that a wife knows her husband better than anyone, strengths as well as flaws, but her love and loyalty run deep, and she'll never agree with an enemy against him, even if some of what the critics say is true. So I took that stance on behalf of this leader, who I saw as honestly doing her best despite her flaws. I took opportunities to reason with others on her behalf, and also loved, encouraged, and prayed for her all along the way. We all go through times when the enemy is trying to knock us off course. This usually happens at our point of greatest impact, having to do with our God-given destiny. If we can look beyond the obvious into the unseen realm, we'll be fortified to stand our ground and not give up. There is overcoming grace available to us not only in our own battles, but often for us to come alongside others in theirs. Changing gears, Have you ever had a dream of someone you know trying to attack or kill you? What do you think this could mean? Here are a few ideas. In a past context, it could be pointing to abuse or trauma that needs healing. In a present context, it could be warning of actual danger, ulterior motives, or exposing patterns of abuse that are subtle enough we don't realize they're there. Familiarity is one of the greatest causes for blind spots in our lives. That's why dreams are so helpful, because they present things in a different context, opening our eyes to something we may otherwise be blind to. When King David committed adultery with Bathsheba, God sent the prophet Nathan to him. Rather than confronting his sin directly, Nathan told David a story of a rich man with many sheep taking a poor man's only sheep that was very dear to him, killing and serving it for dinner. The Bible says David burned with anger and said this man should die for what he has done. To which Nathan replied, "You are this man." Oh, snap. Regarding a relationship with long-standing difficulties, someone dreamed of being a passenger in a van driving along a windy mountain road in the daytime that suddenly went off a cliff. The feeling of terror was overwhelming as they knew they were falling to certain death. After crying out to Jesus to be saved, they landed safely on a dirt road that was in Switzerland. The van kept driving along the road that they knew was approaching a drop-off, so they jumped into the empty driver's seat and started trying different controls to get the van to stop. All the controls were foreign and didn't make any sense. As panic was building, the person discovered the only way to get the van to stop was to put it into reverse. So they pulled a gear shifter into reverse, which brought the van to a sudden stop. To this dreamer, the relational problems were evident, as represented by daytime. They just didn't know how to make things better, so had continued along the unstable, perilous road. Going off the cliff correlated to a past situation where it seemed the relationship was certainly ending, but was surprisingly salvaged by landing in Switzerland, a state of false peace where they had survived through avoiding volatile issues. That road was a temporary refuge, but would run out at some point in the near future, as revealed in the dream, and every attempt of this person's to control or help the situation at that point failed. Running out of options, this dreamer finally realized the only way to save the relationship was to shift into reverse, going back in time to address issues at their point of origination in each of their upbringings. This dream imparted wisdom to know where to focus to start addressing root issues going back to childhood. There was a long process ahead for this couple, but they now had hope that it was a road leading to healing and recovery, not another cliff. We've all been in trials where we're trying to fix or control something and nothing seems to be helping. One of the names for the Holy Spirit is Advocate, and it's such a comfort to know we aren't left alone to take care of ourselves. He knows each of us and every situation we face perfectly and is always working to bring the highest good possible for everyone involved. In addition to all the ways God has worked on my behalf, I can't count how many times He has corrected me in dreams concerning my relationship with others. In one sobering dream, God revealed how my actions were affecting one of my daughters. I was taking her on a trip to an island you had to float in the water on a current to get to. We stopped at a hotel on the shore for a couple of hours on the way, and I realized that I had filled the closet of this hotel room full of food, like a pantry, and that I'd have to move it all out to the car and then pay to leave the car in the parking lot before we left. As I was processing the logistics of this chaotic situation, I felt panicked to realize I never told my daughter what room I was in. So I was frantically trying to text her over and over, but my phone was just producing random cartoon images instead of words. I ran to the lobby and found her there waiting for me, realizing she had been there for hours because I never told her where I was or how to get in touch with me. I felt awful, and the fact she wasn't upset with me made me feel even worse. When we finally made it into the water, it was 5:30 p.m. and getting cold, and I wondered if we would even make it. I felt overwhelmed with guilt that she had been waiting patiently for me for so long. I also felt regret, condemning myself for my lack of communication and poor planning that ruined what was supposed to be a special trip together. When it comes to realizing we've hurt or disappointed those we love, it can be agonizing. The point of this dream wasn't to make me feel guilty or tell me what a bad mom I was, but to get my attention and give me insight into how my poor leadership can feel to my daughter and give me a chance to do something about it. I think the getaway to the island represented our relationship with just the two of us, independent of family dynamics. And the spiritual connection we have was signified by floating on water to get there. I see the stop on the shore representing all the responsibilities of life I allowed to distract me from being present and engaged with those around me, especially those I'm closest with. And from my daughter's perspective, she's left feeling uncertain as she waits for connection. My actions communicate the opposite of my truest desire, which is special connection with her. This dream hit a bullseye. I do tend to operate in the error of thinking I need to get all my work done before I can be free to have fun and connect relationally with others. And the biggest reality check came at the end when, sadly, by the time I did get all my work done, it was too late for connection. The universal message here is that the day or season to be with those we love comes to a close more quickly than we realize. And at that point, there's nothing we can do to go back and choose how we spent our time differently. As painful as it can be facing hard truths, we need them to see clearly and make adjustments in our lives. We always have a choice to engage or avoid, and I'll admit I do both pretty well. All revelation is a gift, and sometimes it takes courage to unwrap the gift as it really is, not what we hoped it would be. Earlier, I mentioned vertical and horizontal relationships. If you picture a vertical line and a horizontal line together, what do you see? A cross. At the end of our life, only two things matter: our relationship with God and people, in that order. Last night, I heard someone asked what advice they would give to young people. In addition to great things like maintaining your integrity, investing in yourself, and working hard, they said, take risks now you'll be glad you took later. All relationships are risky and guaranteed to be painful at times. But without them, we'll never live in the fullness God intends for us. The best place to start is right where we are, and the best time to start is now. Be encouraged that what seems far away is probably closer than you think. Thanks for listening.